Okay guys, in this video I'm going to try to explain some things to you that Nostradamus talked about, Einstein talked about, and it's something I have access to, which I think I've been able to develop a way that you can access it as well. So what I'm talking about is there is a universal library which exists. The answers to everything, every question you could ever have, the answers to that exist in that library. And that library, we all have access to that library. I'm kind of so nervous that my hand is shaking. Okay, so almost every time I meditate, I have a breakthrough. Not all the time, only like maybe 98% of the times, I can basically access all the answers within the universe. Like all knowledge essentially is available to me. But now I'm kind of narrowing things down and understanding the bigger picture a lot more. And so the body of knowledge which exists presents itself to me, and I see it as a river. It's flowing as a river, and I can go into that river and I can access all the knowledge that I may want to seek. Not human greedy things like lottery numbers. I'm talking about real knowledge, the knowledge that exists to everywhere. And I think I have been shown a pathway in which you can access this knowledge as well. I'll tell you how I access it. So usually it's just given to me and I just appear there through a deep dive meditation. So a deep dive meditation is when you meditate with your head down. So I will be meditating like this. And sometimes I'll even have really bad posture and I'll be hunched over and I'll meditate with my head down. And I find if you meditate with your head up, like you see a Buddhist doing or professionals doing it that way, you're projecting out into the universe and the universe can easily come to you. So when you meditate with your head up, proper form, that is like a universal meditation. I like to do deep dive meditations where you go very deep into the depths of your consciousness. And I find a deep dive meditation, I like to put my head down and sometimes I'll hunch over. Sometimes when I do deep dive meditations, my nose will start to bleed because you got to understand, you're going so deep. I don't know what happens to your body, but sometimes your nose will start to bleed when you go into your deepest deep dive meditations. So how to access this body of knowledge? The way you want to access this body of knowledge is you don't think about what you want to know. So for instance, if you want to know about death, if you want to say, I want to know about death, what is death? When am I going to die? Can I see my own death? Don't actually think about that. What you do is you just, in your meditative state, think the word death. Maybe picture it, see it, death. And then maybe below that picture and say the words, my death. You don't say them verbally, but just death, my death. And do not think about that thing. If you think about something, your human mind takes over. You do not want your human mind to take over. You want the universe to give you the knowledge, and the way to get the knowledge is to not think about it. Just think about the word, what you want to know. If you're a scientist or a mathematician, just think of the equation. Just see the equation in your head, but don't think about it. Just put the equation there and don't think about it. And when you don't think about it, all the answers to what you want to know on that subject will just come to you. You are given the answers to whatever it is you want to know about. And for instance, I'll tell you how I made the connections. I could always access the universal river body of knowledge. But the way it was shown to me and how I was able to just tell you that, so you can possibly access this body of knowledge. So I believe you can get the answers from that body of knowledge without actually accessing it. And that is how you just think the word of what you want to know, and then don't have any thoughts about that at all. Just go back to meditating. And then all the answers that are associated with that word will come to you. So, this is going to sound weird. I am given knowledge outside of my own thoughts and outside of my own control. So I don't know if anybody else ever has this, but sane people, I don't know if sane people ever have this, but thoughts will come into my head that are not my own. Something is putting thoughts in my head to guide me and direct me. And it's another thing. Thoughts are very powerful. If I even have one thought about anything, it comes to me. All the answers about that thought come to me. The realm will come to me. We'll talk about dark pathways, dark energy, and dark realms. I'm going to make a separate video about that. Like if I had it my way, I would just talk to you guys for like 5 hours. But I think I'm just going to break these up into other videos so that if you want to go back and find something, it'll be easier to find something. So the way I found out that I could share this knowledge with you so that you guys can also get the information to everything is death popped into my head. And it was not my own thought. Just the word death popped up. And then my brain came active and I thought, my death. Can I see my own death? And then I thought about that. And actually, I did not think about it. I just thought my death. And then I'm like, I don't want to spend time thinking about this because I really don't care. It was a thought that came into my head that wasn't even my own. So then I went back to meditating. It just existing without thought, just thinking, exist without thought. Thoughts do not exist. Exist without thought. Thoughts do not exist. And you'll get to a point where you're not even thinking those words. It's more of a mantra. You just want to like keep saying that, and your brain will go into this area where then you can go into a deep dive if you want. I like to deep dive because I really like to do some work instead of just letting all the answers come to me. I find it more therapeutic to actually work. Like all the answers will come to you without work, but I find working for it is actually more enjoyable. So the word death came into my head, and then I thought my death, and then I went back to meditating, and then boom, the river of knowledge was in front of me and I could see it. And I even said this out loud. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, it has to be something. It's so real. And I'm like in it. And it was the river, the body of knowledge. And I didn't seek anything in that body of knowledge. I just enjoyed being there. I wasn't looking for any answers. And then, boom, all the answers came to me. And then I made the connection that in order to access that body of knowledge, all you have to do is have one single thought, and then do not think about it at all. Do not ponder it. Do not try work it out. Just have the one thought of something you want to know about death. Then all the answers of death will come to you. And what are the answers of death that came to me? Because, so for instance, death isn't real. This is just one of our first lives. It's our first life that we're sentient beings. So you could call it your first life, even though our first life, really, we were a primordial beings without sentience. And then once we showed we had a will to live, we got our sentience consciousness. So yeah, this is really the first life. And there are many more lives after this. So I can tap into all of my other lives which are happening right now, not human lives. So I will never reincarnate. I already know my path. I've already lived my path. So I've already, after you die on earth, you will go to heaven. I've been to heaven before. It's actually very common for people who astral project and people who meditate to go to heaven. So what is heaven? Heaven essentially is what Christians think it is. It's like I would say, like, it's almost bang on. Although there's no pearly gates, there's no human construction. There's no construction at all. What does heaven look like? So there's no God, but don't think about that too much, because we will talk about God in another separate video. So I have actually discovered God through meditation. And you'll say, oh, he's talking about religion, he's talking about God. Don't think about God in a religious sense. You could also think about God as the All Father. You could also both think about God as the Force, even if you don't want to bring religion into it. What is God? What in like Star Wars, what they called the Force, you could also call God as just being the Force. So I'll actually do a deep dive into God and how I know God or the Force exists, because when I meditate, I have access to everything. The universe is before me, things beyond, like, I can't even tell you in videos because I don't know how to put it into words. But I have noticed a force behind the scenes, which is very directional, very powerful, and actually puts me on all my pathways. So I always find the proper pathway. I always have breakthroughs. The universe always unlocks its secrets to me when I meditate, and I always go down the right path. Exactly what I want to know is always shown to me. And so I've pondered this. I'll be sitting on the toilet, honestly, and I'm just like, how does this always happen? How am I always on the right path? How do I always find what I need to find? And I'm like, there is some force that is showing me what I need to see. Like, there's a force beyond what I'm able to actually conceptualize and recognize and discover. There's something beyond what I'm being shown that's directing me. And I just knew this force always existed. And because obviously I'm like being pushed down a path, shown things will come into my head that aren't my own to, like, show me what I need to see. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my God. I was talking with my fiance last night, telling her some stuff, because she gets my meditations raw. Like, I'll meditate for 3 to 5 hours straight. I'll meditate for so long that I can't get out of my meditative pose because I'm so sore. So then I'll meditate lying down, and I'll show you guys some techniques on how to meditate lying down for when you get too sore after like 3 to 5 hours of meditation. And I was talking with her about this force, and then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, humans have actually got a name for this force, and that name could be God, could be Odin, could be Allfather, could just be the Force. But there is a universal force which is beyond what I can conceptualize, that is pushing me and guiding me down these pathways. So I believe that that force could be called God, could be called the Force. But anyways, back onto our life cycles. So after you die, you'll go to heaven. What does heaven look like? It looks like a ocean or a mist in a ball. So like an oceany mist liquid. And it looks like the Northern Lights, like the most beautiful Northern Lights you've ever seen. And this is in space, like within our like close reality in space. And all human consciousness is there. So what is heaven? I can explain it to you quite accurately. It is like in Star Trek, the Borg, they have a collective consciousness. Well, that's what heaven is. When you go to heaven, it's perfect. The feeling is amazing. 95 or 99% of people will never leave heaven because heaven is just, it's heaven. It's perfect. And it's a collective consciousness. You are all there. You can all hear each other's thoughts, and there's no privacy. Like when you're in heaven, there's no privacy. Like you're all one, and it's basically like a massive family reunion. It's amazing. So I went to heaven and I met everybody, had a good family reunion, but then I left because, well, I actually find a lot of peace and comfort in being by myself. Just being like just quiet and solace. I really love it. That's where I feel the most comfortable, even though I love people. So after that, I shot out through space. And then I realized I was able to look into all my other lives, my future lives. So the tree of life, what like Buddhists and Tibetan monks and people like that talk about, is completely true. And what I've seen, I've actually seen the tree of life. I've also seen it presented to me as a ladder. So you start step one, boom, we're primordial beings, not sentient. Boom, you then come to Earth or another alien planet, whatever. You come to any planet and you become a sentient being. That's us right now. We're sentient beings. And then after we die, boom, you become a being of consciousness and you can go to heaven, you can stay in heaven. I haven't figured out what reincarnation is because I never really cared. So I never asked or had the thought of what is reincarnation. So that answer never came to me. But I mean, I imagine if you want to, you can reincarnate or you can just stay in heaven. But if you want to go further, you can. And what I was shown is once you learn the lessons in the life you're in, then you can progress to the next life. And I was shown the tree of life or ladder, and there are many, many lives. I don't know how many there are, and I don't know what happens when you get to the end of all of our lives. Because in our next life, you already exist as pure consciousness, which is like a being of light, which is how can you get beyond that or better than that? It's hard to conceptualize, but I do want to share this with you. I was living my fourth or fifth life, I believe. It's very hard to talk about this because you're so far removed from the physical realm. So I was living my fourth or fifth life after being a human. And I remember there was a problem with the realm of matter which we had to solve, which was not a hard thing to do. But a few of us got together and there was like a problem in the physical realm that we needed to fix. So we're like just thinking about, okay, how are we going to fix this problem in the physical realm? And I had forgotten that a physical realm even existed. So I was like, oh yeah, there's a physical realm. I forgot about that. And then I remember thinking, I actually existed in the physical realm at one point. And then I remember reminiscing about my time on Earth being a human. So you got to understand your other lives will be so far removed from this life that you will even forget that you were ever even human. You will forget that you ever even existed in the physical realm until something comes up that you're like, oh yeah, physical realm exists. I actually lived there once. Let's reminisce and, be nostalgic for a while. So I talked about more in this video than I wanted to. I really just wanted to tell you how to access the river of knowledge. And instead you got a little bit about what is life, the tree of life. We have many lives. I even gave you a little insight to my dealings with the Force or God or the All-Father or All-Mother, whatever you want to call it. So yes, if you want to have the answers to everything, just put that word in your head while you're meditating. You don't even have to focus on the word. Don't focus on the word even. Just put the word in your head, death, boom, and then it will all come to you. Oh, and so what was I taught? What was I shown from this river of knowledge when I thought death? So when all that knowledge came to me, it showed me that we are all here by choice. We do not have to stay here. So we can all ascend whenever we want. So you can just meditate and you can choose to have your spirit leave your body at will whenever you want. So we are all here by choice. And I kind of want to touch on suicide. So people who commit suicide, they don't really understand what they're doing. When you commit suicide, say you blow your head off, yes, your spirit will leave your body, but it's very messy way of going. And I think it kind of stains your soul a little bit that you've committed suicide. Nobody else, no other like spirits or conscious beings will judge you for it, but you will judge yourself for it. It will be like a negative stain on your soul that will affect you and you only. So instead of committing suicide, if you're ready to go, what you need to do is you just need to meditate and you just need to let go. You just release your spirit from your body. Like right now, when I thought the word death, which was not my thought, it came into my head. From who? I don't know. So death came into my head, and then all the answers to death came to me from the body of knowledge. And it showed me I can leave whenever I want. I have the ability now to control my own death, right? Like I could still die in a car accident or whatever happens outside of my house. But in my house, I can release my soul from my body at will. And all of us can through meditation. We are all staying here because we choose to stay here. And if you ever do want to leave, that is perfectly fine. You can go out with grace through meditation and releasing your soul from your body. It is not that hard. It is available to all of us. So yes, this video talked about finding the answers to anything you want to know, how to access that river, that body of knowledge. Just put the word in your head, forget about it. Forget about it. All the answers will come to you. This happens to me every single time. Now I'm going to make a video which is very similar to this about the dark realm, dark magic, and dark pathways. I will make that separate because this is already 20 minutes long. But every thought I have, whether it's intentional or not, always comes to me. All the answers to that come to me. Everything comes to me when I just have a single thought about something. So the power of thought is much more powerful than I think we believe, or than we learn about, because yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to make a video about dark pathways next, and that will go into a little bit more detail. So yes, the answers to everything are before you. All you have to do is think of the word. Don't think about anything else. All the answers to that will come to you. I believe I've been shown this pathway so that I can share it with you. And I hope this works for you and you can share your experiences with me. Okay?